want me to hold this stuff here until you speak with the foreperson?
Yeah, we might as well.
Okay.
accounted for, sir.
All right, can you bring me the foreperson?
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Y'all can be seated. All right, so we're about to send out the cart that has all the evidence that the law allows us to send back to the jury room. Okay?
Okay.
You are also getting, and I'll give these to Brooks here, you're getting the verdict form. Behind it, paperclip to it, is a copy of the indictment with all of the charges that you're considering. And then you are also, with it, is a written copy of the jury charges that I gave you yesterday, so the law.
Okay.
And you all are just free to begin deliberating. If for any reason all 12 of you are not in the room, somebody takes a smoke break or whatever, pause deliberations until all 12 of you are back, okay? Brooks, here are those documents, and then I just want to confirm the 3 alternates are in the other jury room.
They are.
Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm going to grab the pressure first.
Okay, thank you.
No map. I guess there's a picture of the map.
All right, we'll be in recess.
Remain seated. Court will come to order.
All right, so my understanding is the jury has a verdict. I realize that there are divergent interests in the courtroom. All right, sorry, just saw it. Interesting, it's just in here, so everybody else is present. All right, so my understanding is the jury has a verdict. I know that there are divergent interests in the courtroom. If you want to remain in the courtroom, you have to control any emotional outbursts that you may have. So, counsel, what I will do is confirm that they have a verdict, and then I will have the foreperson deliver it. It will be brought over to me. I will ask counsel to approach, to inspect the verdict. I will ask you if there are any objections to the form or legality of the verdict. So you might have questions.
There you are.
All right. Brooks, you can bring the jury in. Madam Foreperson, my understanding is the jury has reached a verdict. Is that true?
Yes,
So was the verdict unanimous?
yes,
And have you signed, dated it, and filled in your verdict where applicable?
yes.
All right, if you'll hand it to the bailiff. Thank you, sir. And then counsel, if y'all want to approach to inspect the verdict. Since y'all both are in the hand here. Look at those cluster sounds. Any objections to the form or legality of the verdict?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Jones, if you will publish the verdict.
In the Superior Court of Barrow County, State of Georgia versus Colin Gray, case number 24-CR-593-P, jury verdict. Count 1, murder in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 2, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 3, murder in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 4, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 5, involuntary manslaughter, unfaithful act. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 6, reckless conduct. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 7, involuntary manslaughter, unlawful act. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 8, reckless conduct. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 10, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 11, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 12, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 13, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 14, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 15, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 16, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 17, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 18, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 19, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 20, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 22, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 23, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 24, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 25, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 26, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 27, reckless conduct. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 28, reckless conduct. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 29, reckless conduct. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. This third day of March 2026, signed for person.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Counsel, do we need the services of the jury or any inquiry with the jury?
Yes, Judge, we'd ask the court to poll the jury.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, the defense has asked that I poll the jury. What I am going to do is call out a juror number. I'll ask you to stand. I'm going to ask, was it your verdict in the jury room? Was it freely and voluntarily entered by you or made by you? And is it still your verdict? Juror number 2, will stand. All right. Ma'am, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror 49. Ma'am, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror 51. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror 52. Ma'am, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror 63. 63. Yes. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room?
It was.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror 71. Ma'am, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror 77. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror 82. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror 97. And was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is this still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror 99. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror 102. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Juror 103. Ma'am, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any reason why the jury should not be released?
Not per se, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all will, go ahead and just go back to the jury room. I'll come back and address you shortly. Okay? And Brooks,
Sir.
you can put the alternates back in the
Yes, sir.
regular jury. All right, y'all can remand Mr. Gray in custody. Obviously, we're not doing sentencing today. Sentencing will be deferred. Don't take me yet, I'm sorry. I thought maybe you had touched it. All right, so sentencing will be deferred. Probably meet with counsel in chambers if you want to discuss scheduling for sentencing, if that works. And then we'll go from there. And Danielle, we'll get the sheriff's office in order for retaining. Anything else we need to address today?
Before you talk to the jury, do you mind if me and defense counsel approach you quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's my understanding of Ray. Yeah, it's just politically how they're communicating. It felt like they've been through this series and they should have a lot of responsibility. It doesn't have to be true.
Well, so you articulate your judgment.
I don't know.
I'm gonna discuss the scheduling of sentencing, which obviously there are a lot of people that need to be notified, have a right to appear at sentencing. So sentencing will be deferred to another day. I will talk to counsel in chambers to discuss the timeline for that. Otherwise, we are adjourned. Thank you.
From wait what moments to oh no emergencies. Search 11 Alive on your Roku, Fire, or Apple TV. Stream free on 11 Alive Plus.
We love Atlanta.
I love the activity, the life,
The parks,
the nightlife.
The people.
it's home.
That's why we're dedicated to making it the best it can be. Finding solutions that affect us all. Solutions that help us not just survive, but thrive. Solutions that help make our daily commutes easier and communities safer. Because we believe in Atlanta and its bright future. See solutions to make your life better on 11 Alive News.
We know how much weather impacts your life, and some days are worse than others. 11 Alive weather impact alerts get you ready for all of it.
Very heavy rain out there right now.
When weather threatens.
Welcome back to our special coverage here. Breaking news. The father of the accused Apalachee High School gunman Colt Gray, his father Colin, found guilty on 27 charges. He faces a maximum of over 200 years in prison in a case that is unprecedented, not just in the state of Georgia, but really around much of the country.
Yeah, a lot of the nation watching exactly what happened inside this courtroom in Barrow County. It was a jury from Hall County who took less than 2 hours this morning to come back with the guilty verdict on all charges. So a potentially precedent-setting case. In fact, we're going to be speaking with a legal analyst here in just a few minutes, a former district attorney here in DeKalb County, to get his thoughts on how many people across the country are going to be perceiving this big decision.
Opening statement started on February 16th, and so much was revealed in the courtroom that the community never knew about what happened in the months and weeks leading up to the shooting and what happened inside of that school. Grace King has been covering it all for us. And Grace, want your perspective on the outcome today and what stood out to you most in what brought us to this point.
Well, the outcome was quick. A lot of the families didn't expect necessarily to have a verdict in really less than 2 hours. They started deliberating just after 9 o'clock this morning, came back with the verdict before 11 o'clock, and it was just an emotional morning inside the courtroom. You could see the jurors just kind of sitting there staring at Colin, at the judge, knowing that this is the verdict they've reached and that Colin Gray will likely spend the rest of his life in prison because of the verdict they've reached. You heard some of the families just crying, some in relief, some in frustration, just kind of looking at it. There were some people from the Gray family as well as the victims of Apalachee High School in the courtroom. This has been a year and a half of just heartbreak for some of them. We heard from the kids who are still living, but a lot of them have different injuries. Some of them can't walk, they can't play sports, they can't sleep at night or stay home alone because they have that PTSD just lingering inside their mind. So for them, this has been a really tough journey, and to see some kind of accountability, it was just a really, really emotional morning. A lot of them were just kind of walking out of the courtroom asking not to be bothered just because this is really just emotional day for them.
And I remember another emotional day in court last week when it kind of culminated with the prosecution's case playing video from inside the school that day. We also saw some emotion from Colin Gray that day, but really it appeared as if none today.
None today, but again, we saw last week they played video of the actual shooting, and Colin just broke down sobbing when he saw it. It was very hard to watch. The entire thing was just 41 seconds, and you could see Colt just kind of appear in the door frame, and then just kind of a big cloud of dust as kids started scrambling literally for their lives, some of them making those heroic efforts in their final moments. Christian Angulo stopped and closed the door just before he ended up unfortunately passing away, but saving likely a lot of his classmates that are still traumatized and dealing with these injuries. It could have been much, much worse. We also saw the SROs coming in just a minute later just to try and stop him from continuing this out. Colin broke down at that. He said there was this whole other side of his son that he didn't know, and just watching it for him was really, really hard. Today, he didn't have that same emotion. I know his attorneys have talked a lot about what kind of precedent this sets. There's no doubt from anyone in the legal community that this will be appealed and appealed and appealed. There's certain things that happened in court, certain things that were overruled. The defense, of course, had asked for a mistrial at one point because of things the mom, Marcy Gray, had said during the trial. There were certain objections and evidence they believe that should not have played a part in trial. So there's little things that they can try and appeal, either them or other attorneys, if they go for ineffectiveness of counsel through the appellate process. So we don't know if for Colin, he kind of saw this coming after some of the evidence, or if he just thought, this is one step forward. I've been in custody for the last year and a half. We'll just see where the appeal goes. But no emotion from him in the courtroom today, just those families.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the family, Grace. From that point on, no one's lives are the same. Not anyone inside that school, no one in that community. That is an event that changes a community forever, and really stands out that Colt Gray, the accused shooter at the time, was the same age, 14 years old, as Christian Angelou, who you were just talking about, likely saved other lives around him as a 14-year-old in that situation inside his own school. The other student who died, Mason Schermerhorn, was just 14 as well.
You know, those school SROs likely saved many lives that day too, who stopped the violence after just 41 seconds. They testified at one point as well. But we do want to take this moment to remember the victims, including Richard Aspinwall, the 39-year-old math teacher and assistant football coach; Christian Irmi, the 53-year-old math teacher; Mason Schermerhorn, a 14-year-old boy whose friend says he was best known for his good sense of humor, and an online fundraiser for him said he was just the sweetest, most loving soul. Christian Angelou, sister said in an online fundraiser he was a very good kid, 14 years old, sweet and caring.
8 others were shot and survived in the school that day, and we heard from some of them throughout the testimony. I think that was incredibly powerful, and to remember that everyone impacted inside that school today, whether they were physically injured or not.
You know, a word we continue to use today is unprecedented. We talked about the Michigan case, the Crumbleys being sent to prison for some 10 years. But today, though, we are looking at second-degree murder charges for somebody who didn't even pull the trigger. We want to bring in Robert James, a former DeKalb County District Attorney, joining us now with some perspective on all this. Mr. James, thank you for your time. Let me just get your initial reaction to the jury coming back in under 2 hours with guilty on all charges. All right, we're going to work to get our audio secured there with Mr. James and get back to him in just a moment.
Yeah, looking forward to his perspective on a number of points, to your point of how quickly that the jury deliberated and came back with this verdict, but also just what this could mean for future cases. This is, as you said, unprecedented. A father who is now facing at max more than 200 years in prison, 27 charges. It could have been 29, but there were some who chose not to testify, so 27 charges. But the most serious would be murder in the second degree, is something we have not seen when it comes to a parent being held culpable for the actions of their child.
Also, what does this mean for the case of his son moving forward, Colt Gray, who right now undergoing some mental evaluations to determine whether he is mentally capable to stand trial. So let's get back to Mr. James now, former DeKalb County District Attorney. Mr. James, thank you for your time on a big morning here. We'll just start with your reaction to hearing that the jury came back in under 2 hours, guilty on all charges for Colin Gray.
Well, that's fast, right? You don't normally see juries come back that fast in trials that last more than a day or a half day, just because of the sheer volume of evidence people have to review before they make a decision. So they apparently had their minds made up when they went back there.
For you, in terms of moving forward, we keep talking about this being a first of its kind case in Georgia, but really one the country hasn't seen to this degree. Even the estranged wife of Colin Gray, Marcy Gray, in court, it talked about how she had Googled Jennifer and James Crumbly, the parents in Michigan who were convicted in 2024 of failing to secure a firearm, ignoring warning signs in another mass school shooting. From a legal perspective, what changes after this verdict today in your mind to potential cases moving forward when it comes to a parent's culpability in the actions of a child?
Well, the bar just got lower, right? We've never seen the law used in this way before. And so as a former prosecutor, you've never really imagined being able to charge parents in this way. And so ultimately the precedent's been set, the bar is lower. My suspicion and belief is that this is going to play out in front of the Georgia Supreme Court because it expands the doctrine of parental responsibility in a way that we've not seen before, and so they're going to have the ultimate pass on it.
Can you tell me how exactly it would get all the way up to the higher courts? What are some of the appeals that we would see between now and then, and how long could that take?
Well, you're going to see appeals, perhaps to the Court of Appeals, perhaps to the Supreme Court, depending on what the issue is, right? That happens pretty fast in terms of when the appeal happens or when it's filed, usually within about 30 days or so of a conviction. There may be a motion for a new trial before it goes there, but I would expect that the defense lawyers will seek redress with the appellate courts. And then ultimately the Supreme Court's going to have to decide whether or not they want to expand the doctrine of parental responsibility in Georgia this far, because it really is a major shift in public policy.
Real quick, as we wrap up here, 2 questions. How should we be viewing sentencing? He's facing up to 180 years. What's next with that? And then what's next with the son's case? How are his attorneys viewing this conviction this morning?
Well, I'll start with the second question that you asked, which was the son's case. I would expect that there's going to be a pretty strong and robust argument, about maybe diminished capacity, mental health issues. I think that if I were his defense lawyer, I would be pointing to perhaps the dysfunctional upbringing, the home environment, and how that's affected his psyche and him mentally. Obviously, an expert has to say that ultimately, not just a lawyer. In terms of sentencing, he's going to be brought back before the court. This gentleman that just was convicted, and there will be arguments about, the amount of time that is appropriate. You can, bet money, right, that the prosecution's going to ask for a lot of time. They're going to want to send a message. And obviously, the defense lawyers are going to offer evidence and mitigation and ask for leniency. And that'll be interesting to watch how that plays out in the courtroom.
Mr. James, how unusual in your mind is it that we have the parents' trial before the child who's accused? If you just look at this, in a layman's term, it seems like it's the reverse order of what you would expect. Yeah,
it is the reverse order of what you would expect. The reason it's not extraordinary is because everybody expects that the young person will, admit that he actually committed these murders, these crimes. But there's some sort of, I won't call it justification, but mitigation, whether it's mental health issues or, not guilty by reason of insanity. We don't expect him to come in and say he didn't do it. Now, if he were going to come into court and say he didn't do it, he being the young man, then it would be highly unusual to convict somebody for helping someone do something where the other individual's not been convicted of doing yet. So yeah, it's unusual, but I wouldn't call it extraordinary.
Mr. James, I have one other question, just because you have such a unique and insightful perspective. As you were following this trial, what were the moments from your perspective that stood out to you as the most impactful to get us to where we are today, a conviction on 27 counts for a father of an accused school shooter?
Yeah, well, I'll summarize it, right? All the moments that really pointed towards the father having knowledge that this young man was dangerous, right? The mother's testimony, the testimony of the sister, other family members, everything that pointed towards you knew about his issues, but you also knew enough to fully appreciate that he was dangerous and that he was going to do something. And if the case survives on appeal, I think it will be narrow, but it will survive for those reasons.
Robert James, former DeKalb County District Attorney. Sir, thank you for your time and analysis this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We're back in just a few minutes. Breaking news, Colin Gray found guilty on all charges.
We are bringing you breaking news at this hour.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. 11 Alive Plus, complete coverage of your local news, weather, and more. When news breaks, watch 11 Alive Plus. See the story as it's happening. Be on the scene faster than ever before. Live updates from the team you trust. Stream breaking news on 11 Alive Plus. Download free on your TV now.
Atlanta, we see you grinding it out every day to keep your family safe, your bills paid, and your community strong. At 11 Alive News, we get it, and we're here to help.
These are the Atlanta zip codes with the highest car insurance rates.
Reporting on real issues.
We uncovered millions of dollars in unused rental assistance.
Sharing real solutions.
After our investigation aired, GDOT took action to make Georgia roads safer.
For solutions that make your life better, watch 11 Alive News.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with 11 Alive and 11 Alive Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage with 11 Alive and 11 Alive Plus.
When the big story hits Atlanta,
A major water main break has left people with low water flow.
it's on 11 Alive Plus. Watch the 24/7 stream to see what's going on, live as it happens. Local news when you want it. Weather impact alerts, we got you covered.
I want you to be aware of really cold air.
From wait what moments.
Let's get out to Barrow County now, where there was a news conference with prosecutors, and we also understand they are joined by some families of the Apalachee High School shooting.
It stopped, and we hope we've moved the needle a little further.
At what point in this investigation did you decide to charge the father?
It would have been in the first few days. Of course, we learned about the shrine in the house early on, which worried us. And then when we found out about the FBI 2 years before at the house, or a year and a half before, that started to connect the dots with us, that he had a long time of knowledge. So we were leaning towards charging, and probably did charge at that point. The text messages came in later. And just reinforced our decision.
You had an opportunity to talk to jurors afterwards.
Yes.
What did they share with you? This is an extremely quick verdict considering the length of this trial.
They were very happy with our presentation. They thought we did a good job. They had some questions about things they didn't see, evidence they weren't allowed to see. We talked to them a little bit about that. And they just kind of talked us through where the children were, where the victims were, how they were doing. And we reassured them on that front.
What was the biggest piece of evidence that you think led to this guilty verdict by the jurors?
I don't think it was one piece of evidence. I think it was the fact that it was multiple pieces of evidence over a lengthy period of time that really showed them what was happening inside that house and all the warnings that were missed. I think it's one of those things, the defense talked about a slippery slope, but it wasn't like one parent missed one warning. This was multiple warnings over a lengthy period of time, and like we said, you just had to do one thing and take that rifle away, and this would have been prevented. So I think it was all of those things together.
You did get him to concede on the stand that he was told by Colt that was Nicholas Cruz in those pictures. Do you think that was a big moment for jurors?
Absolutely. I mean, how do you allow those pictures on your child's wall and not question it further?
At what point for you should he have locked up the guns?
That calls for a lot of speculation. I would have never given my 14-year-old child a firearm like that after Jackson County coming to my house. I think most parents wouldn't have done that. I don't know if that reaches criminal at that point, but it certainly reaches common sense.
What do you recommend for sentencing?
We haven't decided that yet. We're going to talk with the victims' families. I haven't actually spoken to them at all since the verdict came out, so we're going to go talk with them, get them ready. Sentencing will be at a future time when they can all be here and speak to the judge, and we'll discuss it with them and make a decision.
What have the victims' families told you prior to this, like throughout this process? Are there any comments that they've made that sort of stand out in your mind?
I don't think it was a common reaction. They all are reacting to their grief in different ways. They all have different perspectives, and we've listened to all of them and talked with all of them, and I don't think there's any common thing. I've just told them from the beginning that my plan was to prosecute this to the fullest extent of the law, and that's what we've done.
When you spoke to jurors, did they give any sense that they were trying to send a message?
I don't think I got that sense from them. I think they were looking at this case, these facts, and this law, and coming to a decision.
Were you surprised by how quickly?
Actually blamed others in this case, said D. Martin could have been to blame, said Lisa Butler. What do you say, or the mother should have known something? How do you explain that to viewers who haven't been watching this 2-week trial?
One of the things that came to light during our investigation was that the reason so many lives were saved at Apalachee was because of lessons we learned from prior tragedies. So I am all for looking at these things. What could we have done better? What can we do in the future to make our children safer? But the blame game, these were good people trying to make their best decisions as they could with limited information. The one person that had all the information was the one that didn't act.
Did you ever actually consider charges for Marcy Gray?
Absolutely. We found what she did to be morally reprehensible. We do not believe she's a good mother, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, she did not have custody of Colt. She did not have proximity to Colt, and she was not the one that provided him the firearms.
Can you provide any update on Colt's case and where that stands at this point?
I cannot. The state stands ready to try the case at any time.
What does this verdict mean for the community here in the county?
I hope it starts the healing process. It can't, of course, complete it until we finish the whole trial, both trials. But I hope that they can start moving forward with their healing.
Were you surprised at how quick the verdict came?
If they didn't come back in 5 minutes, I start sweating. So to me, it seemed like an eternity.
What message do you hope this case sends to other parents here in Barrow County or around the country?
Well, at my college, there was a plaque on the wall that said, "Duty is the sublimest word in the English language." And we talk a lot about rights in our country. We're proud of our rights, and I'm proud of our rights. But you know, our rights were given to us by our forefathers. But God gave us a duty to protect our children. And I hope that we remember that as parents, as community members, to protect our children, because that is our God-given duty.
Legal question. Colt has the presumption of innocence.
Yes, sir.
But how can he still have that when his father's been convicted now of crimes that he allegedly committed?
That's a question for the courts and his defense attorneys.
Can you give our audience a sense of how much work you and your team put into a case like this?
Hours, lives. We've had Ashley Gilliland, who testified in the trial, Amanda Dibble, Jenny, thank you, worked extremely hard on this case. It is all they've been doing for the last year, at least. The hours we put in has been tremendous. But we wanted to honor the families, the victims. We wanted to honor all the hard work that law enforcement did, and us not giving everything we had to this case would have been dishonor to them, and we weren't going to do that.
And clearly it had an emotional impact on your entire team as well as you. There were moments that we saw you, tearing up as we heard testimony from those survivors.
Well, we're all parents. We can never understand the full grief, but it touches us. And we've met these families, we've dealt with these families, we walked through with these families, and yeah, it's emotional.
There were points throughout leading up to the tragedy when law enforcement could have stepped in to interrupt the situation in some way, or have spoken up a little bit louder than they did. Do you think there are some lessons that can be learned from that for law enforcement in the county as far as how to prevent this kind of situation from happening again?
Yeah, we've been discussing that as a law enforcement community. In fact, y'all probably know that after this event happened, we got a flood of threats coming in from kids all over the world, because kids are kids, I guess. So we've had to discuss, how are we going to deal with these? How are we going to work through all of these threats where children are doing this what we would consider outrageous actions of calling in threats when they don't mean anything. So yeah, there's been a lot of discussions with law enforcement about how to deal with these sorts of things going forward.
What would you say to those that are disturbed by this verdict across the nation, who think this is a parent that is being held responsible for something that his child did? What would you tell those people?
I would say, please watch my opening. This was a trial about this defendant's actions, his choices, and his responsibility. All right, thank y'all so much. I appreciate everything.
Thank you so much. We've been listening to Brad Smith, the district attorney, and I think that last note he ended on is a significant one when he talked about this trial was about one father's choices and action, or in this case, they argued inaction. He talked about, a dysfunctional home, talked very openly about him not believing that Marcy was a good mother, but he said, quote, one person had all the information and it was the one person who did not act. And that is why they brought this case against this father.
He had custody of the children, allowed access to the firearm for his son, Colt, the firearm that was ultimately used to carry out this shooting. And I think what came back a lot as we've talked to people, including a legal analyst about a half hour ago, and also our Grace King, who's been in the courtroom for all this, was the shrine that was also in his son's room, the shrine to Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland school shooter, and how you can just ignore that. And it seems as if the jury without a doubt sided with the prosecution.
Yeah, let's bring in Stefanich Haynock, who's also been covering this trial since the very beginning. Steph, we just heard the district attorney talk about Colin Gray's estranged wife, Marcy, and their daughter, Jenny, also played a critical role in testimony, really testifying against her father, some moments that really stopped everyone in their tracks.
Yeah, her testimony definitely turning some heads that day in court. Jenny Gray, the daughter of Colin Gray, the sister of Colt Gray, she lived in the same home when all of this was happening, and of course the months leading up to it. And her testimony gave great insight into the family dynamics and what was going on inside of the home. She spoke on her brother and father oftentimes getting into fights, both verbal and physical. Also her concern over the Christmas gift, the gun that her father gifted her brother. She said she voiced her concerns to her father, and oftentimes her dad voiced his own frustrations regarding her brother's mental health, violent outbursts, asking her opinion. She says she told her father to contact and ask other adults because she was only 13 years old at the time. Here's more what she had to say regarding those pictures on her brother's wall.
He told me, like, if they asked me anything, about if he knew that Colt had problems and that his problems would lead up to this, that I should basically try to cover for him, and specifically about the pictures on the walls. He told me not to tell them that he knew what they were.
Okay. And when you say pictures on the wall, do you mean the pictures of Nicholas Cruz?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the news articles about Nicholas Cruz?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so he told you to tell them that Colin, didn't know who that was?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, she said her dad asked her to, cover for him regarding those. But we saw those images and the articles in court. Hard to miss. 12 images, also article clippings. And so, Cheryl, Dan, that's the verdict today.
A first of its kind trial here in Georgia. All eyes of the nation on how that jury would decide, and they came back guilty on all charges for Colin Gray. Now the question becomes, what's next for sentencing? Sentencing will be at another date, and also what's next for his son's case. The district attorney, Cheryl, saying he hopes this starts the healing process today, but it won't be finished until they finish both trials.
A father held responsible for what police say his son did at the age of 14. We'll have continuing coverage for you streaming on 11 Alive Plus and back here at 12:30. Thanks so much for joining us.
11 Alive Plus.
We love Atlanta.
I love the activity, the life.
The parks, the nightlife, the people.